It is those farther away who must pay for your love of your neighbor, and even if 5 of you are together, there is always a 6th who must die. No matter how big your group gets, there's somebody outside of it that needs to be taken care of. I do not love your festivals either. I found too many actors there, and the spectators, too, often behaved like actors. I'm afraid so. I'm afraid a lot of people who laugh at jokes or whatever and don't get them, that's one example, or people who laugh at stupid movies. Like, who goes to these movies that are playing these days? Don't they know when they laugh that the whole eternity and all the ether of the universe is ashamed and abashed for them? Like, going to these terrible movies that they show now, like Wall-E and whatever, SpongeBob SquarePants. Be ashamed of yourselves. Okay, the spectators behave like actors too. The show's bad enough, but everybody in the audience is acting like they're all acting like zombies as well. I teach you not the neighbor, but the friend. The friend should be the festival of the earth to you, and an anticipation of the overman. Festival of the earth to you, and an anticipation of the overman. I teach you the friend and his overflowing heart, but one must learn to be a sponge if one wants to be loved by the hearts that overflow. Aha! Do you want to be loved by them? Oh, it's kind of like opposites attract, right? The hearts that are overflowing, you have to be a sponge and soak it up. I teach you the friend in whom the world stands completed, a bowl of goodness, the creating friend, who always has a completed world to give away. And as the world rolled apart for him, it rolls together again in circles for him. What the hell is that? As the becoming of the good through evil, as the becoming of purpose out of accident. What is that? Is that Eastern mysticism? Why do you have to go there, Nietzsche? Let the future and the farthest be for you the cause of your today. In your friend you shall love the overman as your cause. My brothers, love of the neighbor I do not recommend to you. I recommend to you love of the farthest. Thus spoke Zarathustra. He is, in fact, advocating solitude, quite explicitly then. Now, continuing with Nietzsche, I'm cutting about 50% of the material, and then skipping a page once in a while, and then sometimes reading 2 or 3 pages straight without cutting anything out. He who seeks easily gets lost. All loneliness is guilt. Thus speaks the herd. Now this is called On the Way of the Creator. And he doesn't mean the Creator as in God, he means the Creator as in an individual who creates value. So the herd says, if you seek, you easily get lost, and loneliness is guilt. He doesn't care for that. We skip a ways. Alas, there are so many great thoughts which do no more than a bellows. They puff up and make bigger. And I don't know if we can qualify a thought like that as great, but there are so many deepities, as Daniel Dennett has called them, thoughts which seem to be profound but are not. They're just like a bellows. You know, a bellows is that thing where you open it up like that, you take a bellows and it's got the accordion thing or a bag or something that blows air into a fire. So when you puff it up like that, it looks bigger, but there's nothing inside but air. There's a lot of thinkers like that. Professor Anton on YouTube is my latest favorite to torture myself once in a while with one of his videos, and then make a snide comment, and then I'm off to do other things. You call yourself free? Your dominant thought I want to hear, and not that you have escaped from a yoke. Are you one of those who had the right to escape from a yoke? There are some who threw away their last value when they threw away their servitude. Now, I don't know who that is. That's an odd thought. But here's the great line to classic line right here. Free from what? As if that mattered to Zarathustra. But your eyes should tell me brightly. Free for what? Can you give yourself your own evil and your own good, and hang your own will over yourself as a law? Can you be your own judge and avenger of your law? Self-contained self-enslavement or something like that. We skip a paragraph, or the rest of that paragraph. There are feelings which want to kill the lonely, and if they do not succeed, well, then they themselves must die. Meaning the feelings, I think. But are you capable of this? To be a murderer? In other words, to kill the feelings that make you lonely? This is all struggle against the self. It fits right along with existentialism and the motif of the book. Skipping a few sentences. You force many to relearn about you. They charge it bitterly against you. You came close to them and yet passed by. Pause for a second. I think Benjamin Franklin said that if you force people to relearn about you, to change their mind about you, they'll hold it against you. You came close to them and yet passed by. That they will never forgive. You pass over and beyond them, but the higher you ascend, the smaller you appear to the eye of envy. Not bad. The higher you go up, the less they're able to see you, the envious. So they can't really envy the truly great. They can't even see it. But most of all, they hate those who fly. Skipping a paragraph and a half. The lonely one offers his hand too quickly to whomever he encounters. To some people you may not give your hand, only a paw. Let's hold that metaphor for 1 second. And I desire that your paw should also have claws. That's what you offer to some people. Not a handshake in greeting, but a paw with claws. But the worst enemy you can encounter will always be you yourself. You lie in wait for yourself in caves and woods. You must wish to consume yourself in your own flame. How could you wish to become new unless you had first become ashes? Lonely one, you are going the way of the Creator. You would create a god for yourself out of your 7 devils. Now, I don't know what the 7 devils reference is. He mentioned it, I skipped over it earlier too. It's not explained, so something in German folklore, or maybe even some Greco-Roman reference. We skip a paragraph. Go into your loneliness with your love and with your creation, my brother, and only much later will justice limp after you. Wow, there we go. Now that says that if you're going to change things and be an innovator and bring about something new, you have to go ahead and do that. And later on, justice will catch up with you. So don't expect justice while you're about creation. I love him who wants to create over and beyond himself and thus perishes. Thus spoke Zarathustra. Alright, that's the end of that little short chapter section thingy. The next one is titled On Little, Old, and Young Women. Now, I was going to skip this whole thing, but there are some paragraphs that are worth it. Not because it's particularly profound, this next bit here, but it is bizarre. It's Nietzsche talking about women, and you know I had trouble with him, so who doesn't? Much has Zarathustra spoken to us women too, this old woman talking to him, but never did he speak to us about woman. And Zarathustra answers, about woman one should only speak to men. And then the old woman says, speak to me also of women. I am old enough to forget it immediately. And Zarathustra obliged the little old woman and spoke to her thus. And he's speaking in first person here, so he says, I obliged the old woman, I spoke thus.